All right, welcome to an exciting new CIRF report. We have an exciting new change in addition to what we've been doing in the past, which is the Dreambot and the astrology. We're adding in a special new flavor, very Jungian. Carl Jung loved astrology. He studied astrology. He also studied dreams, collective archetypes, which we have represented in the collective Dreambot. But we're also going to add one more cool thing. So stick with me. Let's talk about the Dreambot. And if you've never heard of Dreambot before, I suggest that you see the beginner's guide that's indicated below. We're going to get started with the blue arrows. This is like earth and living and basic needs. Garden, planet, very earthy. And hey, we need to eat. We need to grow, it's just very basic. Sleep, we need sleep, and we have these wants. So anyway, blue is earth and basic needs. Then the red is, this one's interesting, as I went through a lot of consternation to include the relationships in here. And it's about relationships, but they're kind of going and coming. So we're feeling separated and now we're coming together and we're kind of going around and around. So there's a lot of relational distance and togetherness. It's both. It's kind of that whole continuum. So that's the red arrows. And then the orange arrows is just the extremes. I mean, it's very absolute, officially, massive, impossible, mini, max, awesome, hard, least. And so, but we're learning through this whole thing. In the extremes, we learn. All right. I didn't put learning in there because it's only one word, but it definitely applies. We only really learn the most and remember it when it's in the extremes. So let's go to the astrology and our little extra. Up here in the upper left, you can see that we're starting to do some weird thing with lines. This is the I-Ching. Some people call it the I-Ching. The Book of Changes is what we're going to be reading from right here. Carl Jung had a foreword in this book. And this I-Ching was created around 3,000 years ago for divination. And so we're going to, when I have time, hopefully every time, put up a I-Ching reading, and which I did today. It's the hexagram 10, which all these lines represents something. There's actually two groups here. There's the upper and the lower, and then we have Lu. That's the hexagram 10. That's called in English treading. All right, so treading. That's kind of the overall theme from the I-Ching. All right, and we have the Dreambot results up here, relationships and distance. We have the extremes, and we have the extremes already from moon sextile sun at 11:32 on Monday morning. That's Central Time. And, sextile is pretty fair. It's balanced. It's harmonious, but, the moon is waning and it's getting closer to the sun. And so in the sky, it's kind of metaphoric, but it's getting smaller and smaller from what we can see. And so therefore it's getting weaker and weaker. This I-Ching treading is multifaceted. On the one hand, we're kind of treading in water and staying afloat and all that. But on the more significant hand, in the Book of Changes, they talk about treading on a lion's tail. And so the weak treading on the strong. And there's a reason for this, with the lines, but in that case, the strong looks back and doesn't do anything because it's balanced. There's no threat there. Initially, the strong might think that there's some threat behind them, but nah. And the sun is kind of in that case. The moon is catching up to the sun, kind of treading on the sun, if you will, but in a weaker state, theoretically, metaphorically. And so in this case, life goes on. The strong doesn't do anything about it. It is what it is. I'm going to illustrate this a little bit more on Tuesday. Watch this. On Tuesday, the moon is going to make a conjunction with Neptune. This is very confusing. I mean, you've already got the moon in a very deep emotional state as it's kind of theoretically or metaphorically weakening in accordance with the sun and the waning, but it's also conflicted with Mars in a square, and you've got a square to the lucky planet of Jupiter. We do have some sextiles to Saturn and Pluto, but both of these are, Saturn is in station. It's going station and about ready to go in retrograde. And so that energy is a little bit higher. And from a Capricorn standpoint, by the way, there's your Earth signs. Earth, you got Pluto in retrograde, Saturn going station, and the South Node all in Capricorn tropical. And then you've got Sun in Taurus, and all of these are earth signs and in your basic needs. And even the fears, if you conglomerate all these memes from the Dreambot, it's kind of fear-based. If you got relationship and distance, it's where's my loved one? And I can't wait to see my loved one. I miss them. But then you also have the extremes, and the extremes are very judgmental. And that's very Saturn. That's very Pluto is very subconscious stuff, and death and rebirth and all that. But Mars being a very extreme over here and conflicted with that square there. And so the moon itself is really kind of in a weakened state, and not just from the waning position, but from these various aspects on Tuesday. And then on top of that, conjunct with Neptune in tropical Pisces. So it's like deep in the waters, and all this water, and Neptune is, the ruling planet of Pisces. And so dreams and intuition, but everything but reality is very confusing. And when that happens, emotions happen. And so you do get to these extremes. So we have the earth signs and basic needs. That's all met. We have the relationships and distance, because when we're conflicted and we're feeling negative emotions, automatically you're going to feel distant from other people, or at least confused about other people. And maybe even if you have a loving relationship, you might feel like it's not as loving as you need it to be, or there's like something lacking there, or emotions are confused, or empathy is confused. So all right, all that put together, life goes on. That's what the I-Ching is saying, is in this weakened state, we're treading on the strong. The strong doesn't, the lion or the tiger looks back and sees this thing, this creature treading on my tail, and goes, it's just not worth it. It's not worth, destroying this weaker person. It's in balance. I'm just going to let it go. And so it is what it is. And now, if you look at the solution, which we always do in these CIRF reports, we're looking at the sidereal now. And if this is confusing to you, again, go back to the beginner's guide. But we're now in the sidereal zodiac. And we have Aries with the sun. This is for Monday. And moon with Aquarius. But look at Tuesday. It's very clear. It's like moon is the hub of all these aspects, everything. And so getting in alignment with the stars means getting in alignment, in this case, on Tuesday and Monday, getting in alignment with the moon. And the moon is in sidereal Aquarius. It's a perfect position to be in when you have deep emotions. And I'm arguing that the I-Ching and the collective unconscious, the Dreambot, and the astrology is all pointing towards a lot of extreme emotions. And the best way to deal with this is to become your best Aquarius that you can be. Aquarius being very, in the extreme, the aloof, but being able to see the emotion without feeling the emotion. I don't know of any other zodiac sign that can do this any better. And if you know of one, if I'm wrong, please comment below. But I think Aquarius is your best bet. And so let's look at these solution slides. We're about to embark on a whole bunch of emotional energy. And you can either dive in and tread those waters of emotion, because emotions are going to run high, or you can stay outside the emotional waters as the best Aquarius above the waters and have a nice overview of what's happening and what everybody is feeling, including yourself. And then you can make better decisions based on that. Here's the intervention slideshow, which is, do consider not diving into that emotion. It doesn't mean ignoring the emotion. It just means staying distant from it, but looking at it, being able to not be afraid of the emotion itself, and not construing any of these outside influences as a problem for me that I need to solve. You know, going back to the I-Ching, which is nothing changes. Nothing changes in this perceived incongruity between strong and weak. And once that insight comes out into life, it's just merely the observation thereof. And so nothing needs to happen per se. So my point here is that all this emotion might come to play, but nothing needs to happen. And that's what Aquarius gives you. So intervention on the don't side says don't disconnect from reality. This doesn't mean that you get high, get drunk, disconnect completely from life, just get weird. Now, some would argue that you could use the moon and the Neptune and all that, but apparently the Dreambot and the collective is saying it's just far too emotional to go there. So just stay rational, but look at the emotions. Don't ignore them. Being able to see them as they are, see them clearly for what they are, and appreciate them can give you the best and right action, which, by the way, according to the I-Ching, could be no action at all. All right, and that's very Aquarian. All right, we have any questions or comments? Please leave them in the comments below, and I really appreciate you being here. Have a great couple days, and I'll see you again hopefully on Tuesday evening. Thanks, everybody.